Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel, All Things Taeler, just in time for a brand new gaming update. I'm your host, Taeler Hendrix, and this is the latest you can expect from the MCU and video game realm. All right, everybody. So in case you have not noticed, which I don't know how you couldn't have, the MCU is one of the all-time most successful and highest grossing film franchises. Now, the same cannot be said for their video game endeavors. There has been a lot of ups and downs, naturally, of course, throughout the last 40 years of Marvel and their video game ventures. Their ventures date back all the way to 1982 with Spider-Man for Atari 2600. So there's been a lot of ups and downs since 1982 from Marvel and their video games in partnership with Sony and others. I did some research and I found a list of some new up-and-coming video games that have officially been announced for release, some as early as later this year, some slated for 2023, and some pushed all the way to 2024 and 2025, including some PS5 exclusives, which we talked about in a previous video with Sony and PlayStation moving away from the PS4 and focusing on PS5s going forward and a more moving away from a console-centric society into a more at-your-fingertips sort of society, which is where society is already heading anyway. So they're moving their focus onto their PS5s as well as their PC and mobile apps. So what's really, really interesting is their most successful venture so far in video games for the MCU was really a rejuvenated effort that came in 2018 with their Spider-Man for PS4. So they're really looking on capitalizing on that going forward. It's very similar to how they've been doing their film franchises. So here is the official list, and it's very, very interesting, and I will talk about the PS5 before I go into your actual list for Marvel's upcoming game list. The PS5 finally made it to 20 million units sold. However, they narrowly missed the record goal of the PS4. Now, this was a little bit of a disappointment for Sony and their executives because they missed their projected sales for the year, which we already talked about in a previous video, with their fiscal year ending, I believe, in March or April of 2023, and that will end up the 2022 year for sales. There was a part a shortage of some kind with materials that prevented them from making as many consoles as they wanted, which also affected the pricing margin as well as the profit margin and the actual sales. So in order to boost up these numbers, now that parts and materials are becoming more available again, after the strifes of the pandemic, they are going to be pumping up production to try to increase those sales, which could ultimately lead to them actually being cheaper because of supply and demand and how economics actually works with inflation and the opposite of inflation. So it's very, very interesting. So the facts are the PS5 has finally surpassed 20 million units sold, and they plan on pumping up production, like I was saying. Let's see here. The PS4 actually made their record of 20 million sales in 15 months and 14 days, whereas the PS5 actually took 18 months and 22 days. So a little bit longer than the PS4. And like I said, it was a parts shortage. Now, with the list of Marvel announced games, we're going to be looking at the fact that a lot of them are specifically PS5 and or PC and mobile app related. None of these are slated to be compatible with the PS4. The first one up is a PC and mobile version of a collectible card game, and it's going to be called Marvel Snap. It kind of reminds me of Pokemon, to be honest with you, but it promises like a bunch of different characters to choose from the MCU. So it's kind of like a Marvel version of Pokemon, I think. I think this will be very, very interesting. One that looks very, very cool is called Marvel Midnight Suns, and they promise it will be a very fast-paced tactical RPG game. So I'm thinking of it more like World of Warcraft meets Call of Duty meets the Avengers is how I'm thinking of this game. It actually seems really, really cool. There's a lot of excitement and buzz surrounding that one. The next one is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This is going to be a direct follow-up to the one that I briefly mentioned, which was their most successful, which was 2018's Spider-Man. So this will be a continuation of 2018 Spider-Man. It's called Spider-Man 2. It's slated to be released in 2023, and it will in fact be exclusive to the PS5. The next one is a Marvel Wolverine game, and this will be available after Spider-Man 2, and it's also slated for an exclusive PS5. They're promising a darker tone for the game. I'm thinking it might have shades of the the personality of the game Arkham Asylum, if you've played that, that's kind of my take on it. I could be wrong, but that's my assumption. There's also another game that does not have an official release date yet, nor an official title, but it does have some very interesting information about it. So I'll give you kind of a brief rundown. The person writing the stuff for the game is actually the writer and director of the recent hit film Uncharted, which starred Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. Amy Hennig was the writer and director for Uncharted, and she's going to be working with some people that worked on Star Wars games, the EA games, and Skyscapes and more. They said it's going to be a narrative-driven blockbuster action-adventure game, and it's going to have a completely original story. So I'm very interested to see the timeline for that and how that comes out. And so those are some of the games announced coming out this year and all the way up to potentially 2025 from Marvel, as well as the PS5 with Sony. And the shift that we are now noticing from away from the console and to more PC and mobile games. This has been the latest update for the All Things Taeler channel. Comment below with your thoughts on some of these games, what some of your favorite games are, and don't be afraid to give us a thumbs up. Talk soon, everybody.